Hey everyone, welcome back to the deep dive. We're taking you on a journey today, straight to the heart of Japan, a place that's been calling out to adventurers and food lovers for, well, pretty much forever, I think.
It's true. And today we're zeroing in on Osaka. That city that's constantly buzzing, full of energy, and let's be honest, absolutely overflowing with amazing food.
Right. I mean, Osaka's known as Japan's kitchen for a reason.
Mhm.
And, just hearing that nickname, it kind of makes you want to book a flight right now, doesn't it?
It really does.
Yeah.
And whether you're a seasoned traveler or, hey, maybe this is your very first trip abroad, we've got a ton of fantastic material to help you experience Osaka like a pro.
Yeah, like a real insider.
Yes.
This is going to be your ultimate guide to Osaka, especially for anyone who's maybe feeling a bit overwhelmed about where to even begin planning a trip to Japan. We're breaking it all down for you, from that delicious, famous food scene all the way to navigating local customs, figuring out the best way to get around, and even some smart tips to make sure you don't blow your budget.
Exactly. We're going to build a sample itinerary together, a kind of day-by-day guide for a solid 20 days in Osaka, which,
Mhm.
that's a good chunk of time to really dive in and soak it all up. And we'll cover those things you mentioned, plus anything else we think first-time visitors might find helpful.
Sounds like a plan. Okay, so Japan's kitchen, that's got to be our first stop, right?
Definitely. It's a title Osaka wears proudly, and it's earned it over centuries. Really, it goes way back, especially to the Edo period. That's from the 1600s to the mid-1800s. That's when Osaka really solidified its place as this culinary powerhouse.
Okay, so the Edo period, that's when Japan was under the rule of the Tokugawa shogunate. But Osaka wasn't the capital, right?
No, the capital was Edo, which we know as Tokyo today. But even though Osaka wasn't the political center, it was absolutely vital to the country, economically speaking.
I'm guessing its location had something to do with that, right? Like access to resources and stuff.
Absolutely. Osaka sits right on the coast with access to both the Seto Inland Sea and the Pacific Ocean. Plus, it's surrounded by these incredibly fertile plains. So you've got this abundance of fresh seafood from the bay, rice from those surrounding plains, and tons of different vegetables grown all around the area.
Wow, so it's like the whole country's larder was right there.
Exactly. And all of that was flowing into Osaka. It became this central hub for distributing food to the rest of Japan. So imagine bustling markets packed with every kind of ingredient you can imagine. It just naturally created this culture where good food is really appreciated and it's celebrated.
Okay, so all of that totally explains the nickname Japan's kitchen. But I also read about this concept of, what was it, kudar? Can you explain it?
Kudor, yeah,
Yeah.
I love that word. It literally means something like eat until you drop, but it goes even deeper than that. It's like this almost rebellious idea of indulging in all the deliciousness Osaka has to offer, even if it means, spending all your money on food.
Eat oneself bankrupt, right? That's a pretty intense dedication to food.
It is. But it speaks to this deep love of food that's woven into the fabric of Osaka's culture. People in Osaka are passionate about their food, they take it seriously, and it shows in the street food scene.
I've heard so much about the street food. That's definitely on my list.
Oh, it's a must. And it's not just about grabbing a quick bite. In Osaka, street food is an experience in itself.
Okay, so diving a little deeper into Osaka's history, I read that Osaka Bay used to be called Naniwa. What's the story behind that?
Naniwa literally means theft garden, which tells you everything you need to know about how important seafood was and still is to Osaka. The bay was teeming with fish, and that abundance of seafood really shaped the local cuisine. You'll find fish and seafood prepared in so many different ways, from sushi and sashimi to grilled dishes and hearty stews.
So the sea definitely played a big role, but it wasn't just seafood, right? What about the agricultural areas around Osaka?
Oh, they were essential too. All around Osaka, you had farmers growing rice, of course, but also all kinds of traditional vegetables. There's a real movement now to revive and celebrate these Naniwa traditional vegetables.
Naniwa traditional vegetables, what are those exactly?
So these are specific varieties of vegetables that have been grown in the Osaka prefecture for like over 100 years. Yeah, they have a unique flavor, and they tell the story of Osaka's agricultural heritage. It's pretty cool.
Wow, that's fascinating. Okay, so now I've got to ask about the dishes that I absolutely need to try when I'm in Osaka. I mean, I know a little bit, but I want the insider scoop from you. Let's start with takoyaki, because that's the one I keep hearing about.
Yeah, takoyaki is like the ultimate Osaka street food experience. You can't go there without trying it. These little balls of batter filled with a piece of octopus, grilled to perfection, and then, they get topped with this amazing sweet and savory sauce, Japanese mayo, dried bonito flakes that kind of dance in the heat. and a sprinkle of seaweed powder.
Hmm.
Just thinking about it makes me hungry.
I can practically smell it from here. Okay, what about okonomiyaki? I've seen pictures, and it looks like a pancake, but I'm guessing it's more complex than that.
Oh, it's so much more than just a pancake. It starts with this batter made from flour, eggs, and grated yam, and then it's loaded up with all sorts of goodies, like think pork belly, shrimp, vegetables, whatever you like, really. It's cooked on a hot plate right in front of you, and then the toppings come in. Okonomiyaki sauce, mayo, bonito flakes, seaweed. It's like a party on a plate.
Okay, that sounds amazing. And there's also kushikatsu, right? Deep-fried skewers, if I'm not mistaken.
That's right. Kushikatsu is another Osaka classic. Imagine pretty much anything you can eat, skewered, coated in these crispy panko breadcrumbs, and then deep-fried until they're golden brown. You dip them in this shared pot of special sauce. But, there's one important rule to remember. No double dipping.
Ah, the double dipping rule. Got it. Now, what about Kappo cuisine? I'm not familiar with that one.
Kappo is really interesting. It came about as this kind of more relaxed alternative to the super formal kaiseki dining experience. Those multi-course meals with all the rituals.
I see. So less ceremony, but still amazing food.
Exactly. With Kappo, you get really high-quality ingredients and dishes, but in a more casual setting. The chefs often prepare the food right in front of you so you can see all the skill and artistry that goes into it.
That sounds like a great way to experience the food culture on a deeper level. Now, I gotta ask about sushi. Is there an Osaka style of sushi?
Oh, definitely. Osaka is famous for its box sushi, also called oshizushi.
Okay, and what makes it different from the sushi we usually see, like the nigiri style?
Well, with oshizushi, instead of being hand-formed, the sushi is pressed in a mold, which gives it this really unique shape and texture. It's often made with vinegared mackerel or other cured fish layered with vinegared rice. It's quite pretty, too.
Sounds delicious. And last but not least, dashi. That's an essential ingredient in so many Japanese dishes, right?
Absolutely. Dashi is that savory broth that forms the base of so many soups and sauces. And Osaka is known for having particularly delicious dashi.
Is there a reason for that? Like special ingredients or something?
Well, it's said that a merchant from Osaka named Konbuya Ihei was the one who really popularized using high-quality kelp, or konbu, from Hokkaido to make dashi. And that kelp, from the cold, clear waters of Hokkaido, it adds this incredible depth of flavor.
Okay, so that's the secret ingredient. That's amazing. We've covered so much about Osaka's food, and it's clear that Japan's kitchen is a well-deserved title, but I'm also eager to start talking about actually planning a trip. That sample 20-day itinerary you mentioned sounds like the perfect place to start.
Absolutely. We can map out a fantastic 20-day adventure for you, and, it's just a framework. You can always tweak it based on your interests, your pace, all of that.
Awesome. Okay, let's break it down day by day. What about those first few days? What should a first-timer focus on when they arrive in Osaka?
All right, so let's say days 1-3 are all about getting settled in, finding your bearings and experiencing some of those iconic sights and sounds, and of course, tastes of Osaka. First things first, arriving in Osaka is surprisingly easy. They've got great public transportation, so whether you fly into Kansai International Airport or Itami Airport, getting to the city center is a breeze.
That's good to know. So once I'm there and I've checked into my hotel, what's next?
Well, I'd say head straight to Dotonbori. You can't miss it. It's this super vibrant entertainment district. And it's like an assault on the senses in the best possible way. You've got bright lights, massive video screens, the Glico Running Man sign that you've probably seen in pictures, and then, of course, the food. This is where you got to try your first takoyaki, fresh from a street vendor.
Sounds like a proper Osaka welcome. Okay, what else should I squeeze into those first few days?
Well, right near Dotonbori is Shinsekai, which is a shopper's paradise. It's this long, covered shopping street with everything from big department stores to little boutiques. A great place to wander around, maybe pick up some souvenirs. And, of course, you can't go to Osaka without seeing Osaka Castle. It's stunning, and it gives you a glimpse into Japan's history. Plus, the views from the top are incredible. You can see the whole city.
Wow, I'm already getting excited just thinking about it. Anything else?
One more thing, especially if you're a foodie, Kuruman Market. They call it Osaka's Kitchen. And it's basically this covered market with rows and rows of stalls selling all kinds of incredible food, like fresh seafood, produce, prepared dishes, you name it. It's a feast for the eyes and the stomach for sure.
It's on the list. All right, so that covers the first 3 days. What about days 4 to 6? What's next on our Osaka adventure?
Let's switch gears a bit and dive into Osaka's cultural and historical side. I'm thinking Shinsekai for day 4. It's this really cool neighborhood with a retro vibe, kind of like stepping back in time to 1960s Japan. Plus, it's known for its kushikatsu, so you can have another round of those delicious skewers.
I'm all about the food, so that sounds perfect. What about day 5?
How about a little nature break? Tennoji Zoo is right in the heart of Osaka. It's a great place to spend a few hours. And then you can wander through Tennoji Park, which is a beautiful green space. It's nice to have a little contrast to the busy city streets.
That sounds like a good way to relax for an afternoon. And for day 6?
Day 6. Let's get a taste of traditional Japan. Sumiyoshi Taisha Shrine is one of the oldest Shinto shrines in Japan, and it's absolutely gorgeous. The architecture is amazing. It's a really peaceful place to visit.
Okay, so by day 6, I'll have experienced the modern side of Osaka and gotten a glimpse of its history and culture. What about days 7 to 9? Where do we go from there?
For days 7 through 9, let's really immerse ourselves in local life, and of course more of that fantastic Osaka food.
All right, you had me at food.
Uh-huh, I figured. Okay, so first, I highly recommend going on a dedicated food tour, with a local guide who can take you to some hidden gems, explain the dishes, give you the insider scoop on Osaka's culinary scene.
That sounds incredible.
It is. And then, to really get hands-on, how about taking a cooking class? You could learn to make your own okonomiyaki or takoyaki. That would be such a fun experience.
I love that idea. And for the rest of those 3 days?
Well, I think it would be great to explore some of Osaka's lesser-known neighborhoods. Get away from the tourist hotspots and see a different side of the city.
Are there any neighborhoods you'd recommend?
One that comes to mind is Nakazakicho. It's a really charming area with tons of independent cafes, vintage shops, and art galleries. It's got a very different vibe from Donbori, but it's just as cool.
Okay, Nakazakicho. Noted. Now, I'm guessing by days 10, 12, I'll be ready for a change of scenery, maybe venture a bit outside of Osaka.
Exactly. And luckily, Osaka is perfectly situated for some amazing day trips. There are so many incredible places within easy reach.
Okay, so where do we go first?
Well, Nara is a must. It's an ancient city, famous for its Todaiji Temple, which houses a giant bronze Buddha statue, and also for the friendly wild deer roaming freely in Nara Park. You can pet them, and they'll even bow to you for food.
That's so cool. Okay, Nara is definitely on the list. What about day 11?
You can't go to the Kansai region without visiting Kyoto, the ancient capital of Japan. It's packed with temples, shrines, gardens, and traditional architecture. It's absolutely magical.
Okay, but Kyoto is a huge city, right? Where do you even start?
You're right, Kyoto can be overwhelming. So, for a first visit, I recommend focusing on one key site, Fushimi Inari Shrine. It's famous for its thousands of vibrant red torii gates that wind up a mountainside. It's absolutely stunning, and it makes for an unforgettable experience.
I've seen pictures of that place. It's breathtaking.
And then for day 12, how about a stop in Uji? It's a lovely town located between Osaka and Kyoto, and it's famous for its green tea. You can visit the beautiful Byodo-in Temple, which you might recognize from the 10-yen coin, and even try a traditional matcha tea ceremony.
Okay, I'm loving all these day trip ideas. And then for days 13, 15, it looks like we have a choice to make.
Yes. You can either spend more time in Kyoto, exploring all its treasures, or you can head to another fantastic city, Kobe.
Tough choice. What would you recommend for each option?
Well, if you choose to stay in Kyoto, you can spend a day exploring the Gion district, which is the geisha district. It's full of charming, traditional wooden buildings and narrow streets. You might even spot a geisha, or maiko, a princess geisha, hurrying to an appointment.
Oh, that would be amazing.
And then you could visit Kiyomizu-dera Temple, which is known for its incredible wooden stage that juts out over the hillside. The views from there are incredible. And finally, you can't miss the Arashiyama Bamboo Grove, which is this incredibly serene forest of towering bamboo stalks. It's a truly magical place.
Wow, those all sound incredible. But what about Kobe? What's special about that city?
Kobe is a vibrant port city with a more cosmopolitan feel. You can visit Harborland, which is a waterfront area with shops, restaurants, and a Ferris wheel. And, of course, you have to try Kobe beef, which is world famous for its rich flavor and tenderness. It's a splurge, but it's worth it.
Okay, I see the dilemma now. It's hard to choose. But, okay, let's say I've done all that sightseeing. By days 16, 18, I'm probably ready for a bit of a break.
I agree. These last few days should be more about relaxation and maybe revisiting some of your favorite spots or experiencing something new based on your interests.
Okay, so what are some ideas for those days?
Well, I highly recommend treating yourself to a day at an onsen, which is a traditional Japanese hot spring bath. It's the ultimate way to relax and rejuvenate after all that sightseeing. Osaka has some fantastic onsen facilities, both within the city and in the surrounding countryside.
Oh, that sounds heavy.
It is. And if you're feeling energetic, you could always revisit some of your favorite places in Osaka. Maybe trying a restaurant you passed by earlier or exploring a neighborhood you particularly enjoyed. Or if you're interested in art, Osaka has some excellent museums and galleries. And if you happen to be there during baseball season, catching a game is a really fun and unique experience. The atmosphere at Japanese baseball games is electric.
Okay, so those are some great options for winding down. And then, days 1920, it's time to say goodbye to Osaka.
Sadly, yes. Those last 2 days are all about soaking up those last moments in Osaka. You can do some final souvenir shopping, enjoy one last delicious meal, and then head to the airport for your flight home.
That 20-day itinerary is incredible. Thank you so much for walking me through it. I feel like I have a much better sense of how to plan my trip now. But before I actually book that flight, I'd love to get some practical advice on navigating Osaka as a first-time visitor. What are some local customs I should be aware of?
Great question. Knowing a few basic customs can really enhance your travel experience and show respect for Japanese culture. For example, bowing is customary in Japan, but a slight nod of the head is usually sufficient for tourists.
Okay, good to know. What about shoes? I've heard you have to take your shoes off when you enter homes in Japan. Is that right?
Yes, it's very common to take off your shoes before entering homes, temples, traditional restaurants, and even some shops. You'll usually see a step up at the entrance or a designated shoe rack. Don't worry, they usually provide slippers.
Okay, so just be mindful of where I'm walking. What about public transportation? Any etiquette tips for that?
Yes, on trains and buses, it's considered polite to keep your voice down, especially when talking on the phone. And try to avoid eating or drinking on public transport unless it's a long-distance journey.
Got it. Be quiet and save the snacks for later. Anything else?
Oh, one more thing. When accepting or giving something, especially in a more formal situation, use both hands. It's considered more polite. And a big one for a lot of travelers. Tipping is not customary in Japan. In fact, it can sometimes be seen as rude.
No tipping. I'll have to remember that. Okay, so those are some great tips for being a respectful visitor. Now, what about getting around Osaka? Is it easy to navigate?
Absolutely. Osaka has a fantastic public transportation system. The subway and train lines are clean, efficient, and surprisingly easy to use, even if you don't speak Japanese.
That's reassuring to hear. Any tips for making it even easier?
I highly recommend getting an ICOCA or Suica card. These are rechargeable travel cards that you can use on most trains and buses. You just tap them on the reader when you enter and exit. It's super convenient.
Oh, that sounds way easier than buying individual tickets all the time.
It is. And don't be afraid to walk. A lot of central Osaka is actually very walkable, especially areas like Dotonbori, Shinsaibashi, and around Osaka Castle. It's a great way to see the city at your own pace.
Okay, I like the sound of that. So, we've covered customs and getting around. Now, what are some things to avoid doing in Osaka? Are there any big no-nos?
A few things to keep in mind. First, avoid talking loudly on your phone on public transport. It's considered rude to disturb other passengers.
Okay, phone on silent. Got it. What else?
Littering is a big no-no in Japan. They take pride in the cleanliness of their country, so always look for a trash can. And don't cut in line. It's considered very rude, just like in many other cultures.
Okay, those are all pretty basic things. Anything else?
Just remember to be patient and polite. People in Osaka are generally very helpful and friendly towards tourists, but it's always good to be mindful of cultural differences and avoid being demanding or impatient.
That makes sense. Okay, now for the practical stuff. Money. How can I enjoy Osaka without spending a fortune?
Osaka can definitely be budget-friendly if you know how to do it. First, take advantage of that amazing public transportation. It's much cheaper than taxis.
Right, we already covered the ICOCA card, so that's good. What else?
There are tons of free things to do in Osaka. Like, the grounds of Osaka Castle are free to explore. You only have to pay to enter the main keep. And many temples and shrines have free grounds that you can wander around.
So I can get my culture fix without breaking the bank. What about food? Is it possible to eat cheaply in Osaka?
Definitely. Embrace the street food scene. It's delicious, authentic, and very affordable. And if you're eating in restaurants, look for lunchtime specials, which are often much cheaper than dinner.
Okay, street food and lunch specials, noted. Any other money-saving tips?
If you're planning to travel a lot outside of Osaka, look into getting a Japan Rail Pass. It can save you a lot of money on train fares. And for accommodation, consider hostels or guest houses. They're much cheaper than hotels.
Awesome. Those are all really helpful tips. Before we wrap up, I wanted to circle back to something you mentioned earlier, Okinawan cuisine. It sounds completely different from what we've been talking about with Osaka. Could you give us a little taste of what makes it so unique?
Absolutely. Okinawan cuisine is a world of its own, really. It reflects the island's unique history, their subtropical climate, and even influences from Southeast Asia. So you've got dishes like Okinawa soba, which is a hearty noodle soup with thick wheat noodles and a pork broth, often topped with slices of slow-braised pork belly called rafute. Then you've got Goya champuru, which is a stir-fry made with bitter melon, tofu, egg, and pork.
Koi shampoo. Okay, that's a new one.
Yeah, and then there's taco rice, which might sound surprising, but it's a really popular dish in Okinawa. It's basically a Japanese twist on the Tex-Mex classic. You've got seasoned ground beef, lettuce, cheese, tomato, all served over rice. For street food, you have to try sada andagi, which are these amazing sweet deep-fried donuts. And for ingredients, you've got things like umibudo, also called sea grapes, which is a type of seaweed with these little bubbles that burst in your mouth. And then there's ishigaki beef, which is super high quality and has this rich flavor.
Wow, all that sounds so different from the Osaka dishes we talked about earlier.
It really is. Okinawa's got its own distinct flavors and culinary traditions. And, it just goes to show how diverse Japanese food is, region to region.
This has been an incredible deep dive. You've given us so much to think about and so many amazing ideas for exploring Osaka and beyond.
My pleasure. I hope you have an amazing time on your trip.
And for all of you listening, here's a final thought. As you imagine yourself wandering the streets of Osaka, soaking up the sights, sounds, and of course the incredible food, which dish are you most excited to try first? And how do you think that first bite will shape your entire Osaka experience? Until next time, happy travels.